What's up, everybody? Welcome into episode 19 of To the Show We Go, featuring Ed Hand and myself, Andrew Parker. If you didn't get a chance to check out 18, we had a White Sox player on, actually, Chase Zaleski. He made it up to AAA Charlotte this past year. He's a very good guy. He's got a good story. He grew up a Red Sox fan, and I think he's one of the more thoughtful guys you're going to come across. So I would definitely check that one out if you like baseball and if you like everything outside of baseball as well, because he gets into everything. And so that leads me now to episode 19, where we have a member of the 2022 draft class for the Red Sox, Jonathan Brand. Now, Jonathan, I just wanted to ask you, how did your 2023 season go for you?
Went well. I was pretty much in Salem the whole year. I started the season and extended, but was there for maybe a week, and then went up to Salem and had a good year. I mean, I was out of the pen. It was the first time being out of the pen in a long time. I've been a starter pretty much my whole life, and then got moved out there this year. But I had a great time. Loved all my teammates and all that stuff. But it was a lot of fun getting my feet wet my first year of pro ball, and it was a good year. I was closing a lot of games and had a pretty successful year.
Now, how did you first start playing baseball? Were you just a baseball kid growing up? Did you go between a few different sports, and then this was the one you were best at? How did your story as a baseball player begin?
Yeah, I mean, I've played pretty much my entire life. As soon as you're able to go play t-ball or whatever, my parents signed me up for that. But played my entire life. I messed around with like football and around my middle school ages, basketball at the same time. Never really just got into them like I did with baseball. And I went to a junior college out of high school for 1 year, and then went to Miami, Ohio after that for 3 years. And now we're with the Red Sox. So
I was actually going to ask you that is how did you end up at Miami, Ohio? I know it's probably wasn't really on like your radar, I guess, growing up in Georgia. So how does that process, like, how did you end up there?
yeah, I had never heard of them until I heard of them. So yeah, so the junior college I went to, the head coach of that junior college was kind of recruiting me my junior year of high school and my senior year. And then during the fall of my senior year, when I had already kind of decided I was going there and stuff, he actually got the volunteer assistant job at Miami. And so I really didn't have any other options to go play anywhere out of high school because I had TJ right after my junior year of high school. And so I kind of knew I was going the JUCO route and went there for a year. And he actually got the full-time pitching coach job at Southeast Missouri the fall of my freshman year of college. And then about 2 weeks later, the Miami job opened up and he went back to Miami. So I wasn't there for long at Southeast Missouri, but I had texted him when he got both those jobs and say, hey, I'm reaching out, would love to play for you one day. And it just worked out that way. So I was only at the junior college for 1 year. It was East Georgia State. It's near Georgia Southern University, and then went up there and loved my time up there. So
You were taken in the eighth round by the Red Sox in 2022. Take us through that moment. Take us through that day. Were you expecting the Red Sox? Were you expecting it to be at that point in the draft?
yeah, so I wouldn't say I was exactly expecting the Red Sox on draft day. I'd gotten a call from another team earlier in the day. The Pirates had called me and asked me, hey, would you take this in this type of round if you're there? And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. And so I was kind of thinking it would probably be them. But probably about a month before the draft, I was playing up in the Cape, and the scout who drafted me just saw me up there one day, and we talked for a minute. And so, to be honest, I'd kind of not really thought about that conversation leading up until draft day. And then, unfortunately, I was actually at a funeral while the draft was happening. And so I think the draft that day for day 2 started at 2. The funeral started at 2. And so I was sitting in the back of the funeral with my phone in my hand, probably looking like an idiot or something. And people probably thought I was being disrespectful or something, but I had to do it. But luckily the funeral ended and we got to say hello to the family. And I mean, I took 10 steps out of the church to walk back to my truck to drive home with my parents, and I got the call. So we rushed home, or we rushed back to my truck because I thought it was going to be in the 7th round because they called me in the 6th and said, "Hey, we're going to take you here in the next couple picks for this." Were you in? And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in." So we pretty much sprinted back to my truck because the pick was in about 5 picks, it seemed. And then my now buddy Caleb Bolden obviously got drafted in the 7th round, and so I was kind of freaking out a little bit when I didn't see my name pop up there, but ended up working out in the 8th round. So, but it was a little hectic for me.
And what was your experience like with your draft classmates? Like, was it like an immediate thing? And you just mentioned Bolden. Are you still like pretty close with these guys and still talk with them daily?
Oh yeah, I mean, we have this group message that a bunch of us talking pretty regularly. I'm pretty good friends with Noah Dean, Nate Landry, Caleb Bolden. Me and Caleb got pretty close this year just from being in the bullpen together every day, and we were at times the only ones who spoke real fluent English in that bullpen, and so we got to know each other pretty good. We kind of run out of things to talk about halfway through August, but no, it's a lot of fun getting to know those guys. I mean, we're all kind of spread out through the different levels towards the end of the year, but you still can talk to any of them like nothing's happened. Like during spring training, it would be like me, Noah Dean, Isaac Coffey, and Nate Landry. We would be hanging out every day because I was rooming with Isaac, and Nate and Noah rooming together, and we'd all just hang out pretty much every day. So.
Did you include Nate Landry in that conversation of not being able to speak English in the bullpen?
That's funny. He does say some things that I'm just like, Nate, that's just not how you say that, buddy. He has that Canadian accent in him, but he says he's only been speaking English for like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
He showed up in Missouri and he just didn't speak a lick of it.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I went down to college in Missouri and I spoke no English. I was like, that was probably a pretty big adjustment period you had going there for you. But no, I'll count him in the ones that do speak English.
No, you were a starter for your whole college career. You were saying that, like it was definitely something for you to get used to. Did you know they were going to move you to the bullpen? And how, because it seemed like you were getting a lot of save opportunities. And I know that there generally isn't like a set closer in the minors. We saw Luis Guerrero doing that a little bit in AA, but that it's generally less so. But you were getting a lot of opportunities there. Do you like that? Do you like that role?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you were to ask some of my coaches, especially my college coaches, they would say it fits my personality better to be in late game situations like that. I'm kind of wiry on the mound and saying some things to myself that I probably shouldn't repeat and things of that nature. But no, yeah, it was definitely an adjustment. I did not know that I was going to be going out to the pen. I found out that I was going to be a bullpen guy when I think it was like week 2 of spring training, and my name wasn't on the starter list for guys who had to do certain things in the training room every day. And so I found out that way. And then, but I mean, I like it. It's a new challenge, and it took a little bit getting used to. First, I would say month and a half of the season, arm wasn't feeling great just because it was a different training regimen, I would say, and different needs out of my body and stuff. But I got used to it, and I love it now. So.
And there's something I was curious about, and we had Noah Dean on for an episode a few back, and we've also talked to like Landry on here, and even Zach Fogel, who ended up showing up in Salem at the end. But what was it like in your point of view, I guess, from being there all year long? So you were there, and you saw a bunch of guys go up to Greenville. Then you also saw a bunch of guys come up at the end of the year that were drafted in this past draft. So. Well, I guess what was that like for you, just seeing like the shift in the locker room throughout the year of like, okay, some of the guys leaving, some guys coming, and I guess what was it like for you, like in your point of view?
It was definitely challenging. I mean, you like get used to being around the same guys for every day for however long we're playing, and then just randomly they're just gone. I mean, like a good example of that be Brock Bell when he started the year out in Salem, and like we got close, and then next thing you know, he was in Greenville. And so like changes happen quickly, and especially at the lower levels when we have a lot of young guys. There's a lot of different personalities in the clubhouse and different maturity levels and things of that nature. But it's definitely a challenge, but it's a challenge that I think we all welcome, just being in the position we're in, because that's just the way this works. You know, people get sent up, sit down every day. So
Yeah, so your profile on Sox Prospects mentions that that you get the most out of your arsenal. Are you an analytics guy? Are you somebody that like pays a lot of attention to that stuff, or do you just, like, this is what I have, let's keep it simple?
no, I pay attention to that type of stuff. I can take a deep dive into it if I need to. And really, the thing I pay attention to the most is the scouting reports that they give us towards hitters. I really like to look at the charts during the game and find out like what guys have been seeing, who they've been seeing it from, what they're hitting, what they're not hitting, and also understanding like what I throw. I mean, I'm not like this big overpowering fastball guy, but with the way I release the ball and my vertical approach angle, throwing at the top of the zone and things of that nature, I understand how my arsenal works because of the analytics. And so I feel like I use that to my advantage.
And something I'm curious about, and it's a little spin from what we were just talking about, but I did remember, by the way, it's we had a couple episodes ago, we had Josh Lester on, the pride of Columbus, Georgia.
Yeah.
That's where it rang a bell. But
Gotcha.
I was going to ask though, so are you thinking so you spent the whole year in Salem this year, you pitched pretty well. Greenville, probably to start the year, is not out of the realm of possibility. Are you excited to pitch in Greenville just because of how close it is to your home?
Yeah, if that's where they're sending me next year, I'd be very happy with it. That's where I hope to start the year next year. But yeah, I'd be thrilled about it. I mean, it's like probably a 5-hour drive from my house, which is better than the 14 up to Salem. So, especially with Greenville being the closest one to my house, I'm sure that it'll be nice for my family to be able to come watch games, and I get to see them a little bit more. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for that.
Do you come from a big baseball family?
I wouldn't like. I'm the first one to like. My dad played in high school and stuff like that. He actually played tennis in college, but I would say tennis is what he was good at. Baseball is what he loved to watch and loved to do. So like, he's a pretty big Braves fan, and so every night when they're playing, they're on the TV. It doesn't matter who they're playing. He's watching the game, and so I mean, I just grew up being in a baseball family. It's just kind of what we've done since I've really started to take this seriously.
Yeah, so you grew up a Braves fan too, then?
Yeah, I was a pretty big Braves fan growing up.
Who,
2021 was a pretty good year for me.
It was all right.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
Growing up, I'd probably say Chipper Jones. Just kind of the classic Braves fan answer, I feel like. But I say the Chipper rather than a pitcher, because until my sophomore, junior high school, if you would have told me I was playing college baseball, I would have said, all right, cool, I'm going to be some Division II middle infielder. And then all of a sudden pitching started to happen for me. So I always kind of grew up like in the position player side of things.
How did you make that conversion? Did they just see you throwing one day and they were like, "Wow, you throw pretty hard," or how did that happen?
Yeah, it was like my sophomore year of high school, and I just like got up on the mound one day, and like as a sophomore, I got up to like 87 miles an hour, which is like relatively hard for a sophomore in high school. And so they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna pitch for us," and then I started pitching really well, and then it just kind of took off from there.
And then you said you had Tommy John though. Like, when was that, your junior year?
Yeah, so it wasn't the full surgery. I just had partial. I like to say I had Tommy, not the John. But it happened I had surgery in June of 2017. And so, but it was only like a 6 to 8 month recovery. So I got to pitch my senior year, which was nice. And yeah, the process wasn't fun, but I think I got better after it. So
Is it true what they say? Like, did your velocity take a major tick up like after the surgery?
yeah, my junior year of high school, I was probably like 86, 88 maybe. And then my senior year, I was probably more like 89, 90. And then really my freshman year of college is when I started kind of more consistently hitting in the low 90s. And then the biggest jump, though, was my sophomore year of college is when I started throwing hard. But I would say I started to understand like how to actually train and work out and stuff like that after my surgery and taking care of my body better and things of that nature. So I wouldn't say it was like an immediate jump for me, but it was more of after a couple of years of really figuring it out in the weight room and things like that and putting on some weight and putting on some muscles, what helped me the most.
And I wanted to I have another baseball related one before I have some non baseball ones, and I'll let Ed jump in after this as well if he's got a baseball one. But I saw on your pitch mix that one of your pitches you have a curveball, and it says it's got a mostly like 12-6 break. How did that come about? Like, was it I guess it's like kind of what was the thought process behind adding that?
So I've had that pitch for as long as I can remember. I just grew up rather than throwing a slider through a curveball. That's just when I started pitching, and I mean I've thrown the same grip on it since I was a sophomore in high school. So it's just always been a pitch that I've been able to throw well, and it's developed to a better pitch this past year. It's I'm starting to throw a little harder than I did in college, which is good, but keeping the same movement profile on it, and so it's definitely been a nice weapon for me.
Yeah, so you pitched in the Cape Cod League for Wareham. Was that your first time up in New England?
So I was in the Cape for Wareham in 21 and 22. I mean, I had been to like a family trip to Boston before. We watched the Red Sox game and stuff like that when I was younger. I've done that twice actually, but other than like really being up there, I would say, yeah, the Cape was the first time I really spent time in New England, and it's a different part of the world compared to where I'm at in Georgia. But I mean, I love it up there. It's a really cool experience.
I was gonna say you going from Georgia to Salem, Virginia probably wasn't a big like culture shock to you.
No, not at all. They're about the same type of living situation, I would say. Same small town feel. The mountains are a little different, but I mean, trees are trees to me. So it looks like woods. I'm good. So
Yeah, it wasn't. I remember we were asking Nate Landry about it, and obviously he was just like, "This is like Salem was interesting for him." So
yeah,
I knew obviously for you it wouldn't be that crazy. Um, Ed, I want to ask him the question, just get it out of the
Yeah,
way right
I'm
now.
ready for it because I feel like you're this isn't gonna be like Missouri. This is gonna be like a really good answer. So let's do it.
Well, you gotta think though. When we asked Josh Lester this question, he answered it the way that I was thinking he would because he's a Georgia guy. So and Columbus too. So like I feel like this is gonna be easy for you, Jonathan. I need to know. I've asked a lot of guys. I feel like almost every single episode I've asked this question because the first time I asked it, it was such a controversial thing that I just had to keep doing it.
It's the most
Uh,
important question you're going to answer this year.
it
y'all are
is.
hyping this one up pretty good.
It's not that crazy, but I just need to know what is your fast food fried chicken place of choice?
Mm. I mean, I'll go with Chick-fil-A. I mean, I feel like I have
Let's
to
go.
Chick-fil-A. A very very close second is Zaxby's for me. I Chick-fil-A. I get Chick-fil-A more. But and it's a little easier, but I would say it's almost like a 1A 1B type thing. But I'm a big fan of Zaxby's, but I would say Chick-fil-A takes the cake for me.
And can I ask you a follow-up question on the Chick-fil-A then? Because I got
Okay.
bullied in the previous episode on when you get Chick-fil-A, what kind of sauce do you get?
Chick-fil-A sauce.
Oh,
That's what I'm
interesting.
saying, man. I got bullied because I wasn't getting the Polynesian and something else,
Yeah, because the
and
Polynesian's awesome.
See, I'm a Chick-fil-A sauce. Like the only time I'll get the Polynesian if I get the nuggets, which I usually don't get. I'll sometimes get the Polynesian, but I don't know, the Chick-fil-A sauce just sticks with me. That's the one I go with.
I agree with you, man. I'm a Zaxby's guy, Zaxby's truther. I had to add it to my bio because I had so many guys in the Red Sox system say Canes, which I love Canes, and I will
Oh,
never. No,
Zaxby's
not for
over
you.
Canes. It's Zaxby's over Canes for me.
I'm with you on that, but I'm not gonna like if there's a Canes and there's no Zaxby's, which is Boston. There's a Canes in Boston, and there's a Zaxby's in Virginia. I think that's the closest one. So it's not really possible up here. But man, I'm Zaxby's through and through, and Zax sauce is probably the premier sauce. And
Mhm.
I'm glad though it's 1A 1B. I'll accept that because I get Chick-fil-A all the time. But
Yeah.
the sauce
I,
thing threw me off. It was like, why not get Chick-fil-A sauce if you go to Chick-fil-A? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I will say I think Zax's sauce is better than Chick-fil-A sauce, but overall I think Chick-fil-A just like barely nudges out Zaxby's because I just think there's more options at Chick-fil-A.
I agree 100%. And it has not been a. Josh Lester did say Zaxby's was his favorite. So I think it might be Columbus, Georgia that's helping me out a little bit.
Yeah.
I think
Well, I guess
Chick-fil-A is the overall leader right now at 3, though.
if I want a chicken sandwich, I'm going to Chick-fil-A. But if I want like chicken fingers and fries, I'm going to Zaxby's. It's probably good.
It's actually a good point. It is a good point because I like the chicken nuggets at Chick-fil-A, but I never get them because I always get the
Yeah.
chicken sandwich. So I'm with
Yeah.
you. All right, so I do have another Georgia related question here. I'm
Okay.
assuming you're a UGA guy.
I am not.
You are not a UGA guy.
Yeah, I wish I was the past 2 years, but my house, Columbus, Georgia, is 35 minutes from Auburn, and so I'm an Auburn fan.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
commit there as a
Yeah, I
graduate?
was committed there as a grad transfer. If I didn't get drafted, that's where I was going to go for my last year.
So I want to know, what are your thoughts? Well, I'm a Mizzou guy, so I was gonna try to like talk a little smack about the Georgia Mizzou game coming up because I actually am telling myself we have a chance. But
I don't think
what
that's
have
going to go for you.
trust me, I know we're not usually this good. But what has you been your thoughts this year on Auburn football? Have you has it not been up to the expectations? Like, what is it like, I guess, down in Auburn country?
I would say it's the expectations are about what they've been. I mean, I didn't think that Hugh Freeze was going to come in and like have an undefeated team. Like I expected us to lose to Georgia. I expected us to go to A&M and lose. So I mean, the losses we've had, like they make sense. So it's first year head coach, and so even though he's been in the SEC before, but I didn't have these crazy expectations that some people would probably say they have. But I think it's going to turn around. I mean, Auburn's a really cool spot, really cool place to be in. The town's awesome. I mean, I haven't spent a ton of time there just because I've usually when I was growing up, I was playing baseball every weekend anyways. And so, but I mean, it's a cool spot to be. And I have a lot of friends that go there.
So I have one of my last random ones here, and I've never asked this one before because I'm actually curious for like that part of the country where you grew up. Um, so when I grew up in St. Louis, and when people do weekend getaways, they go to the Lake of the Ozarks. That's just a thing because it's like close and everything. When you were a kid, what spots did people go to that are from Columbus, Georgia?
So, if you're doing like a long weekend, like the Gulf isn't that far, like Panama City Beach and stuff like Destin, Florida, it's only like 4 hours away.
Oh
Um,
man.
but if you're just kind of going for a weekend, there's two lakes that are kind of in a respectable distance. One of them is Lake Martin, and that's the one that I would always go to. My family has a house up there, and if I wasn't playing baseball during the summer, that's where I was. It's like an hour and 15, hour and 20 away from my house in Columbus. Or there's one that's closer, and it's called Lake Harding, and it's like a 20-30 minute drive. It's just a lot smaller of a lake, but I would say for the most part, people would go to the lake or something. But if they had like a 4-day weekend or something like that, they may drive down to the beach or something. So I'd say one of those two things.
Now, Ed, did you notice he did not say Lake Lanier?
I did notice that he did not say Lake Lanier. I was waiting to say, oh, the one where all those people died, and
Yeah.
you didn't give me
still
the
die.
opportunity.
It's like it's an ongoing thing. It's not, yeah.
I don't know why you'd ever step foot in that lake. There's it's like someone goes in there and they just are gone. There's just no reason to go in that lake if you ask me.
Yeah, we had Lake Lanier as a topic of one of our previous episodes, and it was Ed had no idea, but it's just the lake that people just die all the time. It's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's weird. Yeah,
Bizarre, man.
That seems like an Unsolved Mysteries episode. That's what that sounds like. What would you be doing if you weren't a baseball player, you think?
I'd probably say I would have tried to go to school for physical therapy. I have a degree in kinesiology.
Oh, that's cool.
So I probably would have followed up on that. But if not that, maybe like medical sales or something like that. Didn't really ever. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to ask. Were you an academically inclined kid, or were you like all baseball all the time?
I mean, I wasn't like straight A's type of student, but I was like a low A, high B type of student. I had like 3-something GPA after I graduated college, and so it wasn't like I was some world beater in the classroom, but I did well in school.
I'm curious about something, and it's more baseball related, but are you one of those guys that was very big on looking at your stats, I guess, throughout the year? Like, I mean, you had like over an 11 K per nine, you had a whip under 1. Like, were you one of those guys that was just like, okay, like here's where my ERA sits, like, after a week or so of outings?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely check them. I wouldn't say that like I was sitting there every day, like right after the game, going to see like what my ERA like went up or down to or something like that. I think you can get caught up in the numbers and not focus on what's really important at times. And ERA isn't the greatest predictor of how you're doing. So, but I mean, I would look at the advanced stats like the FIP and stuff like that every once in a while, probably like once a week or something. But I wouldn't say like I was tried to worry about it too much. I mean, I knew I was having a good year, and so I didn't really feel like I needed to go and look at my ERA or something just to confirm that. I just base it off of, did guys score? No, great, awesome. Did guys score? Okay, let's figure out what happened. And so more process oriented than looking at the stats and things like that.
Were there any metrics that the Red Sox organization emphasizes that you, prior to being with them, knew about? Like, just like new ways that I guess they would gauge your success. Is there anything?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely introduced some stuff to us in spring training this past year that was new to me. I don't know if it was new to the org, but it was new to me because it was my first one. It's called like XERA or something like that. They take these 4 different things that they have different algorithms to grade, and it combines into one and gives you a score. And so that was new for me, but definitely the way that they value things was different than I had valued things in the past. And so learning to kind of work for those things and understand like why those things will make me a better player. And if those things are good, like lead me to play in the big leagues and stuff like that. So.
And did they, going into the offseason, did they give you like specific goals that you need to hit? Or do you have any just personal that you're like, I want to get these things accomplished before I start or before I appear at spring training?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm on a velocity program from them right now. I think a lot of guys are on a similar type program. They want my velocity up a little bit than where it was last year, and I do as well because I didn't throw all that hard this past year, but I know it's in there because I've done it before. And so trying to figure out how to do that and making sure I get my mechanics right. I don't do a great job doing some things, moving down the mound. For some reason, I think like if I just get as close to the catcher as I possibly can, that means I'm going to throw it harder, which just isn't the case at all. And so cleaning up some mechanical things that we've been working with a lot. A couple coaches in the org that I really trust a lot and have been putting in a lot of time with me and helping me out with that. So, but yeah, definitely has some things that they told me to work on. And so trying to do my best to do it, I guess.
With the announcement of Craig Breslow taking over as the chief baseball officer for the Red Sox, did you have like an immediate reaction to that, or is it a little too far removed for you to really think about it much?
I mean, I would say it's probably a little too far removed. I don't think that I'm sure he knows of all the guys in the organization and stuff, but I wouldn't say like I'm on the verge of making my major league debut or something like that. So I would say it probably feels like it's a little ways away, but you never know.
Yeah, I thought we had Chase Zaleski on yesterday. He's in AAA with the White Sox, and we kind of I asked him a question just in regards to like, is there a difference in a player's perspective, like hiring a guy who is a former pitcher and former player compared to a guy who didn't play, and he gave a pretty thoughtful answer, and I just didn't know if like all the players kind of thought like one way or the other on that. So
no, I mean, to be honest, I really haven't talked to any of the guys about it yet. I mean, I'm sure we will at some point, but to be honest, I don't really know them all that well. And I'd like to get to know him before I formed an opinion on him,
Yeah, he's definitely a fan favorite, obviously, after winning a World Series in the town. So I definitely saw a lot of thumbs up, and you can't please Twitter mob. So I mean, it is what it is. So I guess Ed, do you have a last one? I have one more, but
yeah, I've got two, so I'll go.
Okay.
You go. I'll go to finish it.
Works for me.
Yeah. Ball gets hit when you're pitching. Which of your teammates last year, and they didn't have to finish the season with Salem, but any of your teammates at any point, who do you want it to get hit to?
Justinson Garcia. He played center field for us.
Yeah.
It's the best center field I've ever seen. It's unreal. He was very good. Immediate answer there, I would say.
You did not hesitate about that for a second. Was it when his brother got called up? Was that I you don't always see that where it's like two siblings on the same team. Was that did they hang out a lot? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they put them in the same apartment, so they were living together or something. But I could be wrong about that. But no, they'd hang out. I would talk to him when I could, but there was a little bit of a language barrier there. But I would say, I mean, obviously Justinson was there for more of the year, but I got to know John Fran. I think I'm saying his name right. John Fran a little bit better just because he was a catcher, and so he would be like in the bullpen with us some games and stuff like that. So, but both good dudes.
And so this spring training is going to be your second official spring training, your first spring training after like actually going through a whole season in the system. Is there anything that you learned after your first one that you're just like, okay, I'm going to go into this one and it's going to be a little different for you?
Yeah. So I would say that getting used to the throwing schedule during spring training, I'll be a little bit more prepared for that because you're throwing every day pretty much for a month. And really maximizing the recovery days when I have a recovery day. Every guy's different, but I think I would get out there and see guys like kind of letting it eat day after their outing. I'm thinking, oh, now I got to do this. But I kind of understand now that everybody's arm works different, everybody's body's different. And so just trusting that I don't need to go and really let it eat for 3 days in a row every day in order to be successful. I just need to take my time and do what I know that works for me.
Now, Ed, you got your final one here.
Yep, my final question as my dog starts screaming at something outside. One thing that Red Sox Nation might not know about you, but you want them to know about you.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Let me think for a second. I would say that it's probably two things. Like the first one, I'm pretty into my faith. I'm a pretty religious guy, so I would like them to know that, and that I'm not playing to please people. I'm playing to please to please Jesus, the guy that I believe in, and all that. And then the second thing is that I'm a fierce competitor. Competing is one of my favorite things to do. It's one of the things that makes me happy in order to compete. I love to do it. So yeah, I would say those two things.
Well, I had one final one that I was just thinking of because you mentioned a lot of names earlier, and guys that left to go up to Greenville that you got kind of close with. Who are you most excited? Who's like the number one guy you're most excited to reunite with? I guess in spring training and then maybe in Greenville.
That's a tough one too. Either honestly, it might be Brock Bell because he just is hilarious to me. He is a very funny guy. He always had good conversations in the bullpen. Caleb Bolden's up there, I would say. Noah Dean's up there, I would say, just because of the time that I spent with those two. But I would say those three just because Brock, just because he's hilarious, and then Caleb and Noah, just because we got pretty close this past year.
I'll tell you what, Noah Dean was low-key one of the funniest guys we've interviewed, and I didn't really know what to expect going in. And because Hunter Dobbins, who's up in Portland, I had talked to him, and we kind of had a joke that's like, us redheads all stick together, and he was just like, Noah Dean is probably the most redhead person in the system, and
This is a perfect way to describe him. He's a redhead. There's no other way to put it. He is the most scatterbrained person I have ever met in my life, but I don't know how to, redhead, perfect way to describe him.
Hey, you know what? He was a great conversation. So
I'm sure he can talk with the best of them.
Big fan of Noah Dean for sure, but I'm sure that group was awesome and all those names. But Jonathan, we appreciate the time hopping on. We take up 38 minutes of your time here, but we're definitely going to be rooting for you as you go into next year, and we'll see where you end up. But we thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.